In this video here, we are going to learn what this funny symbol means right here. And what this says, it is 5 factorial. 5 factorial, that is annotated by the exclamation mark right here, the exclamation mark. All right, that means 5 factorial. And what this actually means is all we're doing is we're saying, I want to multiply this number by every single number below it or underneath it, all the way down to 1. So what I mean by that is I'm going to say 5 factorial is the same as 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And of course that times 1 doesn't really mean anything because any number times itself is just that number. But let's just go ahead and work through this now. So we're saying 5 times 4. Well, that's going to equal, I wrote a 5 there. I meant to do 2. 5 times 4 is 20. And now we're saying 3 times 20. That is going to give us 60. All right, and then 2 times 60, well, that is going to give us 120. All right, so 5 factorial is 1, and I guess we could say 1 times 120, but again, that's just going to be 120. So 5 factorial is 120. All right, let's try it again here with another number. Let's say we want 6 factorial. All right. Let's say we want 6 factorial. Again, all we're saying is multiply all the numbers underneath it. So I'm going to say 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Well, same thing. I'm going to take the 6 times 5, and that's going to equal 30. And I'm going to say 30 times 4, that's going to be 120. And now 120 times 3, that's going to be 360. And now 360 times 2, and that's going to be 720. And then 720 times 1 is still 720. So 6 factorial equals 720. All right. Now here is a neat little trick that some of you might have picked up on already, maybe not. But let's say I know 5 factorial. All right. Let's say that we already calculated 5 factorial earlier. Well, because we actually did. We saw that 5 factorial, after we calculated it out, all right, 5 factorial was 120. 5 factorial was 120. So if we know that 5 factorial is 120, all right, we could actually rewrite this equation down here of 6 factorial. Well, 6 factorial, again, what are we saying with 5 factorial? 5 factorial is, that's not what I wanted here. I want my pen. Let me get my pen. Sorry about that. 5 factorial was 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 6 factorial is 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And if we look at this compared to this, we might be able to notice that there is a common term in here. There's a common expression of 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So 6 factorial really is the same as 6 times 5 factorial. So again, if we already know 5 factorial, which is 120, we calculated that earlier, we can sort of short circuit our equation a little bit by just saying 6 factorial. Well, 6 factorial is just 6 times 5 factorial. Or if we replace 5 factorial with 120 like we know it is, well, now we're just saying 6 times 120. 6 times 120, let's see. We're just going to do 6 times 0, which is 0. 6 times 2, which is going to be our 12. And then 6 times 1 is 6, plus our 1 is 7. So that is going to be 720. And that'll be a much quicker way of solving for factorials if you already know other factorials. All right. The reason that comes in pretty handy is when we start doing things like division here. All right, let's look at some sort of division problem here. Or if I say I want 7 factorial divided by 5 factorial. Well, what is this really asking for here? What we are asking for is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. All of that divided by 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And again, if we sort of look at this here, we can see that we have common terms right here. So this 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 can just completely cancel out. And what we are going to be left with is just a 6 times a 7. So 6 times 7 is 42. All right, so 7 factorial divided by 5 factorial is the same as 42. All right, 7 factorial divided by 5 factorial equals 42. And that, my friends, is all you need to know about factorials.